Welcome to Beyond Resume, where career and analytics come alive. This is where we explore the intersection of innovation and human experience, the stories that shape leaders, and the principles that drive success in our. I am Kaushik, an advanced analytics and AI professional with 20 years in the industry and a decade of managing high performing teams. Today, I'm really excited to have Anirban Nandi with us. Anirban is the Vice President of AI and Data at Albertsons Companies India, and he brings close to 18 years of experience building analytics capabilities from the ground up. Our paths crossed on LinkedIn only recent, and what caught my attention about Anirban is his impressive track record of building data labs from scratch. First at Landmark Group and then at Rakuten India, and his ability to scale analytics teams across both offshore and onshore environments. From his early days as an analyst at Target to now leading AI and data at Albertsons, Anirban represents the evolution of modern analytics leadership. Anirban, welcome to Beyond Resume. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kaushik. That's a very generous introduction, and I truly appreciate it. It's great to be here on Beyond Resume. I really like the premise of the series, especially the focus on the human side of career and leaderships alongside analytics and AI. I am looking forward to the conversation, reflecting on my journey, sharing a few lessons learned along the way, and hopefully offering perspectives that resonate with others navigating similar path in data analytics and AI. Thanks once again for having me.
Absolutely. I'm also excited. How are we going to spend the next 30 minutes to learn the perspectives that you have learned over this 18 years of journey? So Anirban, let's start at the beginning. Like you spent over 8 years at Target, starting as an associate business analyst. That's a significant tenure at one company, especially early in a career. What what drew you into analytics back then, and what more importantly kept you at Target for so long?
Um, okay, so it's like a rewind for me, but my path into analytics actually started with my master's degree in economics. I was drawn to mathematics and statistics, and economics gave me a structured way to apply these tools to real world problems, understanding demand, behavior, incentives, and outcomes. I enjoyed building predictive models, working with data, and using quantitative reasoning to explain complex business and social phenomena as well. When I joined Target as an associate business analytics felt like a natural extension of the education that I've had. What really pulled me in was seeing how data could actually directly influence decision making at a massive scale, be it pricing, assortment, promotions, and customer experience, rather than just remaining theoretical. That was incredibly motivating early in my career. What kept me at Target for over 8 years was the depth of learning and the trust the organization placed in analytics and the data sciences talent back then. Target was way ahead of its time in building in-house analytics and data sciences capabilities. And I had the opportunity to evolve continuously from traditional business analytics to advanced modeling, recommender systems, customer behavior analysis across digital and physical channels. The problems kept getting more and more complex, the impact more visible, and the expectations higher. Most importantly, I was given room to experiment, learn from failures, and grow into larger leadership responsibilities. I wasn't just I wasn't just consuming analytics. I was helping shape how analytics become part of everyday decision making. That's the combination of scale, intellectual challenge, and ownership. And these are the three components I think that kept me there for so long. Hopefully that gives you a perspective of what happened
It
at that.
it does, and that's really impressive to know that at the early stage of career. And again, I'm not saying anything is good or bad, but typically I see that people generally after money or hikes every 1 to 2 years to build up their financial portfolio, but you kind of invested more on developing your knowledge base. That's really impressive and that's unique. And if we look at the data, typically the average tenure of people in their first organization in our field at least, it
Yep,
hovers around 2 years.
absolutely.
So, I mean, what really makes you or helps you to take a different path of knowledge over money?
I think I had a very structured way of going about my career. So that's what I thought during my economics degree as well, that this is what I wanted to achieve. I had certain goals planned in my life, both with regards to professional growth and financial growth, to be very, very honest about it. And financial growth in the short term is not equal to financial growth in the long term. All right. So you need stability, you need growth, you need to learn from your failures, you need to have that ability to experiment. That's where I think a person, a professional gets elevated to the next level. Okay? And then eventually things fall in place, both professionally as well as financially. So that was a clear mindset that I had while I was moving out from my education and joining Target.
Excellent. I'm hoping that the listeners should reflect on this thought process. I mean, very beautiful. You mentioned about short-term financial gain over and long-term financial gain. Typically, most of us or most of the folks focus on that X% hike in 2 years, but they don't realize eventually that what they are losing in terms of the 20 years or 30 years of career, what the accumulation can give over a longer term perspective. No, that's a great share, anyone. Uh, uh, Now, what I wanted to now discuss about some of the pivotal moments in your career, maybe the ones that test you or reshape you, how you think about work. Looking back across your journey, what's been one of those moments which has defined you as an individual? A challenge that might have taught you something important, or maybe a breakthrough that changed your perspective?
I think it's a very interesting question, and I keep sharing this example when I go and talk across different forums. So I'll talk about that because it has really shaped the way I continued in the field of AI and analytics. So the defining moment in my career came early on when I was involved in an analytical initiative that underscored just how powerful and sensitive data driven insights can be. There was a highly visible industry example at that time that sparked an important conversation about real world and impact of analytics, especially when insights intersect with people's personal lives. It was around how Target figured out a teen girl was pregnant before her father did. Okay. The experience fundamentally shaped how I think about data and AI. It reinforced that analytics isn't just about predictive accuracy or technical sophistication. It's about responsible application, context, and empathy. We learned the importance of pairing strong models with thoughtful governance, clear intent, and very careful communication. Since then, I have carried that lesson forward. The true measure of analytic success is not only the business value it creates, but how thoughtfully and ethically it is embedded into the decisions that affect customers as well as the society.
I might be repeating myself, Anirban, but that's very unique perspective. What triggered you? What I can tell you is what really triggers uh, people at that age is how many new techniques they were able to implement every day. And I kind of experienced that even today while managing teams. The benchmark that they put in terms of whether their job profile is impressive or not, depending on that whether they are learning new techniques every day or not. And what you mentioned, I have rarely seen people talk about that, right? And probably that's kind of a mentality or maturity have served you really well for last 18 years. What I know that people will have their own mindset, but what message you would like to give to people who are maybe at a 1 or 2 years experience? What benefit they would see by the perspective that you look over implementing or using new technique every day? What kind of guidance you would like to give them?
So, in any, if you look back at your education, and it's pretty similar. This is one area where I see your education and your professional life has a lot of similarity. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying this is because both across your education industry as well as your corporate industry, you will find avenues to go in depth, which is vertical knowledge, and then breadth, which is horizontal knowledge. You, as an individual who is starting off your career in this field of data and AI, should ideally at the first few years focus on depth, which is vertical knowledge. It could be a business, could be retail, could be fintech, could be telco, could be details about the algorithms and the way it can get deployed where the inference time is very, very low, right? Rather than building 20 different models across 20 different use cases, right? That depth that you achieve within the first 2 to 4 years of your professional journey is something that you have achieved hands on and that never gets forgotten. Eventually, you go into the horizontal space, but doing things half baked, half cooked right at the beginning of your career will not serve you well when you are becoming a leader, when you are guiding your team members, right? If you don't have that depth of knowledge, you cannot guide your team members properly at that point of time. So that would be my advice for the listeners.
No, I love that. I love that perspective, Anirban. I think, of course, the initial career focus on depth, try to become an SME on an area, and then of course you have your entire time for next 10 years or 15 years to try on new things. Again, love that perspective. Now, I would like to switch to something more technical. Now, you have had this unique experience of building data labs from scratch. That's not just about hiring people, right? It's about defining vision, building capabilities, and creating value from nothing. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, the journey of setting up data labs. How do you generally go from zero to a functioning analytics organization? What are the critical decisions in those early days?
Uh, Great question, Kaushik. Building data labs from scratch at Landmark Group is and will continue to be one of the most rewarding and humbling things that I have done in my career. Going from zero to a functioning analytics organization starts with the clarity of purpose, not tools or hiring. In the early days, the most critical decisions is answering why data labs exist. What business problems are we solving in the next 6 to 12 months? And how will success be measured in dollars, growth, or customer impact? Without that, teams risk becomes a reporting factory or an academic exercise to me. The next set of decisions are about sequencing. You can't build everything at once. I learned to prioritize a small number of high impact use cases that prove value very quickly, whether that's personalization, inventory optimization, or marketing ROI. Those early wins creates trust, funding, and air cover to invest in platforms, ML ops, and long term capabilities. People decisions are also equally critical. Early on, you need builders, not just specialists, individuals who can wear multiple hats, translate business problems into data questions, and operate in ambiguity. Ambiguity is very, very important in this scenario. Culture matters as much as skills. So, curiosity, ownership, a bias towards experimentation, the test and learn culture that we talk about sets the tone for everything that follows. Finally, scale only works when foundations are built in parallel. Data quality, governance, experimental experimentation discipline, and production grade engineering. Across Target, Landmark, Rakuten, the inflection point always came when analytics stopped being projects and became products with owners, roadmaps, and accountability. If I have to summarize everything that I said, I think in short, building data labs is less about standing up an org chart, more about creating a system where strategy, talent, platforms, and business outcomes reinforce each other from day one.
That makes sense. Now, a follow up on that. Now, that must be a very significant framework that you eventually developed. Uh, how you kind of partnered with different stakeholders? Again, I don't know that what kind of environment or ecosystem was there, but like the technology team, the compliance team, the finance team, or even the end business users, even being the lead of this initiative, how you brought all of them on board?
I think communication is the key, Kaushik. You don't want to build things in silos. You want to take everybody along because the success of my team or the team that I was setting up at Landmark Group at that point of time was not just dependent on me, but the entire Landmark Group ecosystem. Keeping them informed on these are the initiatives that you're doing, and sometimes over communicating with them and making sure that they are always in the loop, that this is the progress. All right. So I think in corporate, communication does not get the importance that it should ideally get, but sometimes over communication actually helps you win. And when everybody is bought into that idea because they see the value that somebody is trying to get through this initiative, I think then it becomes a lot more easier. And it's a complex set of stakeholders, by the way. It's not just the marketing team or the planning team or the buying team. Everybody gets involved together and tries to, because they also feel that at the end of the day, this success is not just this team's success,
Hmm.
data lab success, it's a combined success that can be portrayed together.
No, that makes sense. I think again from my experience, what I can tell you is, or even when I talking to some of the other leaders, uh, one common thought process that really came through is it might sometimes give me a feeling, and I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here, that some people might feel that this is my project, my idea, and I should have the full ownership and say about how things will move. Yes, I mean, of course, as a leader or owner, you can define the initial blueprint, but I mean, whatever you're developing, it's for the enterprise, right? So everyone who is part of the enterprise should have a say. Otherwise, it will remain as a POC. And many folks who tries to keep things within themselves, I have seen that brilliant ideas, but remain as POC.
Very well said. I think, Kaushik, more, I wouldn't talk about the way I would put this is you need to involve the right set of people,
Hmm.
not like maximize the number of people, but the right set of stakeholders who are actually bought into this idea. Involving them helps you do one other thing, which I've realized from my experience is to de-risk this big initiatives. There could be blind spots because I was new in that organization. I didn't know how this organization operates, right? So involving the right set of stakeholders removes those blind spots, de-risk your initiative. They are actually a supporter. They provide valuable inputs which you can take and then codify actually. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of people do not realize, Kaushik, that this is a team game. And if you create this one team culture, we are all moving forward at a speed of a cheetah.
Absolutely. But you said it very sweetly, but I would say that it's easier to say than to be done. But at least people can take some learning from it, that at enterprises or corporate, the success is enterprises success. There is no individual success. If people can start thinking in that way, I think things will be a lot easier. But again, very important and helpful perspective, Anirban. With that, let's step away from the technical side for a moment. And you have built teams, you've hired people, developed talent across multiple organizations. When you think about leadership, like your leadership, what matters to you? Is there a principle or value that guides how you build teams and develop people?
For me, leadership ultimately comes down to two factors: trust and growth. I have learned that the best work happens when people feel trusted to think, challenge, and take ownership, not when they are managed through fear, hierarchy, or constant oversight. My role as a leader is not to have all the answers, but to create an environment where smart people can do their best thinking and feel safe experimenting, feeling, and learning as well. The principle that guides me the most is build people before you build outcomes. If you invest in developing individuals, helping them understand the why behind the work, giving them exposure to real business problems, and stretching them beyond their comfort zones, the result actually follows naturally. I care deeply about creating clarity of purpose, aligning work to impact, and giving people room to grow into leaders themselves as well. I also, one of my philosophies which I also believe in is high standards with empathy. I
Mm.
expect rigor, accountability, and excellence, but I pair that with context, coaching, and respect for the human side of work as well, because that's where the creativity happens. Careers are very long, people evolve, and the leadership is about helping others see potential in themselves, like I have been shown by my leaders, before they fully see it on their own. So, again, if I had to summarize, my leadership philosophy in one line is around creating trust, unlocking curiosity, and helping people become a better version of themselves while delivering real business impact.
So that's very helpful, and I that's very powerful leadership to get the best out of people. And as you mentioned, our career or journey is not short term; it's a long term. So, like your perspective has always been for as an individual as well as for your team, to keep a longer term perspective, how you can develop people in parallel, how you can make them capable to give their best, and that's as a byproduct that will eventually help you to drive the enterprise goal that you have. I'm curious because on practical ground, sometimes the leadership principles that you follow or hold uh, is a two-way balance
Mhm.
between your upward leadership management and downward leadership management. Maybe you are allowing your people to be open, to be curious, to try out things, to take risk. But at the same time, the enterprise needs numbers, KPIs, quick turnaround. How do you balance that?
Fantastic question, Kausik. For me, upward management, okay, upward leadership management is very, very different from downward team
Mhm.
management. All right. Whatever I spoke as of today, or whatever I was sharing right now, is primarily focused on downward. Okay. Uh, the upward is more situational, because most times when you're discussing with senior leaders, C level executives, you don't even know the context of the discussion that you are getting into, right? Which is very, very situational. And that to me has come only through experiences, some of them positive, some of them not so positive as well, because that's where I have gotten my learning. Now, whatever I had shared with you is primarily me being the leader to my team.
Right.
And that's where I think one of the things, now I also identify my high performance, high potentials, right? I will not be doing this for everybody in the organization. So I will choose a specific set of people who can fall in this bucket of trust and growth because of their performance, because of the challenges that I have thrown at them and how they have reacted, right? I do a lot of mirror coaching as well. Okay. I make them sit in meetings where people are not aware that they are sitting. They're silently observing me, having discussions on difficult topics, not the easy ones. Okay. When you hear people, they'll learn rather than you sending a note to them saying that this is how you do it, not the prescriptive way of doing things. So this mirror coaching has actually helped them, and that's what the feedback that I have gotten from them as well. So but again, you need to be kind of choosy and picky as well, that whom you want to grow. You can't grow the entire org to become you.
Excellent. I think that's what I was looking for. That pick people who have the capability, have the intent to grow with you as well. It's not only about capability. So, and invest on them. That's a win-win situation. You cannot apply the same rule on everyone, because it's not about capability. Everyone might not even have the intent to grow
Yes,
with you.
absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. Uh, uh, Now, Anirban, we need to move to something quick. I would be asking a few questions.
Mhm.
Uh, just say whatever comes to your mind first, right? Ready? All. First one, what's a skill that's not on your resume but has been absolutely critical to your success as a leader?
I think my listening abilities. Okay. I think I over a period of time, I don't think I did. I was a really good listener in the first decade of my professional life. But over this next decade, I think I have become a really good listener. Yeah. My intent primarily was talking. My intent now is first listening and then talking. All right. So I couldn't find any way to write that in the resume, but I think that's one of my strengths right now.
Excellent, and an extremely valuable quality of a successful leader. Next, is there a book, movie, or song or something that consistently inspires you, something you always come back to?
I think the Bhagavad Gita, especially the idea of focusing on the work and not just the outcome. Also, from a movie standpoint, I love this movie called Moneyball, because nothing warms an analytics leader's heart like the data beating the gut feel, right? So, and that movie was always about data beating the gut feel. So, I love Moneyball.
Absolutely, and way ahead of time.
Yeah,
Okay, third, what's one thing you wish more people truly understood about building analytics capabilities in large organizations?
uh, uh, okay, don't take me wrong, but I think analytics is a change management problem. The data and analytics, when I'm using the word analytics, I'm including data, AI, everything. I think it's a change management problem, not a technological problem. Models do not fail, adoption does. Fancy AI without trust to me is like just expensive maths. So if you do your change management well through communication and constant communication and sometimes over communication as well, I think that's where the key is.
Excellent. And last one, you have worked across India and UAE, built teams in both places. What's one thing you learned about building analytics teams across different geographies that might have surprised you?
Interesting question, Kausik. I think my answer would be talent is universal, context is not. All right. So the surprise was how much local business nuance matters. The same model can be brilliant in one geography and completely clueless in another. So it's the same set of talent with the context, with the local business nuance context that makes it a big win.
Fantastic. Everyone, I really enjoyed this conversation. Before we close, I have one last question for you. If there is someone listening right now who is either early in their career or maybe trying to build an analytics function for the first time, what would you want them to know? What's one piece of advice based on your 18 years in this field?
I would say don't chase tools, chase problems worth solving, learn the business deeply, communicate simply, and remember AI won't replace you. But someone who understands AI and people probably will. So the combination of AI and people, which is what I use this terminology called as augmented intelligence, human in the loop. That's a very, very powerful combination. So be cautious about that.
Perfect. Thank you, Anirban. This was incredibly valuable. The kind of insight that can only come from years of building and leading team.
Thank you, Kaushik. This was a great conversation. It's also a proof that the best analytics still starts with good questions and not just with good data.
Great. Appreciate that, Anirban. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on Beyond Resume. Next time, we will be diving into another fascinating conversation with a leader who is shaping the future of analytics and AI. Until then, keep learning, keep connecting, and remember, your career is more than what's on your resume.